Hey everyone, I'm Mike Musto, and I'm back in Bennington, Vermont to revisit an old friend. Welcome to Season 2 of IROC Rehab. In Season 1 of IROC Rehab, you saw us do a host of upgrades to our old and tired 1987 IROC-Z Camaro. Now, here's the thing. We replaced our old blown L98 engine with a brand new crate motor from Edelbrock. We then took out the automatic and we put in a brand new TKX 5-speed to really roll through the gears. We then took some bolt-on parts and updated the suspension. And while all of that was great and made the car better, it wasn't really to the point where all of us collectively said, man, this is a fun supercar. So what did we do? Well, now, coming in Season 2, we've decided to upgrade even more. We partnered with QA1 to put some real legs under this thing, and TMI is also coming in to refresh our beautiful new interior that you're going to see shortly. So with that said, all the guys are in the garage, and it's time to get back to work.
Hey, it's Terry McGean here from Hemmings, and today we're looking at QA1's new suspension for third generation Camaro and Firebird. Now, you guys who've worked on these cars know that they have a modified McPherson strut front end and a torque arm in the rear. These cars handle well stock, but they do have some constraints. QA1 has developed a whole line of new suspension parts to correct a lot of the issues with these cars, and they give you options. We have level 1, level 2, and level 3. Right here is the level 2 kit that we're going to be installing later on. This car uses from the factory a lower control arm, a strut, and a coil spring that mounts between the control arm and the frame. That's the modified part of the modified McPherson strut front end. Normally the coil spring would be mounted to the strut. The issue is that there's not enough room between the tire and the top of the strut to do that. Now what QA1 has done on the level 2 kit is given the option of having a coilover style strut, but with the spring mounted between the control arm and the frame on a spring slider. There's also a lot of points of adjustment on this system. It really helps to dial in the car, get the handling where you want it, but it is still a street kit. There are also drag race kits that QA1 offers, but again, we're going to be using more of the road race / street kit on our IROC.
So as mentioned, on Season 1, we did a ton of work to this car. We replaced a lot of the suspension, engine, transmission, and so forth. But now we want to take it to the next level. So to do that, well, we obviously need Terry and Junior, since they're going to be doing the majority of the work. So guys, what kind of issues, problems, advantages do you see that we did last time, or anything that you see that we're going to have to overcome?
Well, one of the good factors is because we had this car completely apart before, we know everything's going to come off it now. You know, up here in the Northeast, we get used to having a fight with every single bolt underneath the car. We won't have to do that. Everything should come apart willingly. The one trick is this time we don't want to take the engine out, but we have to change the engine cross member. So we have to figure out a way to keep the engine in the car, but I think Junior's got that covered.
Yep, you have an engine cradle over there. We're going to basically put it upstairs across the fenders. We're going to hang from the headers and hold the engine right in place.
Okay.
And then everything is going to drop right out beneath it, and we'll leave the engine and transmission right where it is.
Okay, perfect. So first steps?
Drop the car.
Drop the car. There you go. Drop the car. Let's get to work. With the Camaro back on the ground, it was now time to install the engine support brace between the fenders, disconnect some of the engine components to clear out some space, and then secure the engine to the brace itself so we could proceed with disassembly and the removal of the original K-member. Okay, so as everybody could see, Junior and Terry have put the engine support mount right across the engine bay. Now what this does, well, this will actually support the engine once it's unbolted from the cross member. Now the engine itself weighs about 400 pounds, maybe a little more, and that weight is dispersed from side to side. So the good news is now that this is done, they can go underneath and start unbolting the suspension, start unbolting the engine from the cross member, and we can really get on with the project. Because the QA1 Level 2 handling kit for 1982 to 1993 third-gen Camaros and Firebirds incorporates its own lightweight K-member, we needed to put the Camaro back up in the air and remove the braking system, entire front suspension, and inspect everything to ensure that our install would go properly. All right, so here's a question. So obviously, we got this thing up on the lift right now. We're undoing everything. We had originally said that you can do this at home.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, it's easier with lift, but is this still something you can do at home?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yep. I mean, you'd have to get, get your jack stands back here and make sure you got enough room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this isn't, again, with the F-bodies, especially in the rust belt, cross-member bolts, and whether that nut breaks free and spins inside is going to be your biggest problem.
Okay.
I mean,
because it came apart relatively easily. I mean, there was nothing that was, I mean, granted, most of the stuff under here was brand new anyway, but still.
and I mean, honestly, if you're doing a project car and you don't have an engine in it, that would make this
So much, oh yeah, no, absolutely.
easy to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right, so then what now? Well, right now, I mean, brake lines are undone. We should just lower it down, no?
yeah.
Okay.
Take the motor mount brackets off the engine. We'll take the clips off the brake line because that just gets zip tied onto the new one. And it reuses all the factory mount points. Good to go.
Okay, so we got everything out of the car. This is our original cross member. This is our new tubular cross member. The factory one's made out of heavy stamped steel, and you can see that it's much larger than this, but because this is made out of tubular steel and the way it's designed, it's still very rigid. Here's our factory engine mounts. Here's the spring seats for the original coils. We're going to be using short coils on spring sliders with this, and they're going to be brackets that bridge here to catch the top of those springs. For the engine mounts, you can use these. These come with our kit. There's several different ones offered by QA1. These are for the traditional small block that we have in there, and you can do big block as well. And they also have sets for LS or LT. And this bolts to the engine, and then it just fits over here, and it has urethane mounts that go through it. So we're ready to start reassembling stuff, and the first thing to go back in is going to be this new cross member.
It's going, Terry.
Going good. I'm just tightening up some brake lines. The new K-frame is in. The motor mounts are in place. It's all tight, so we're ready to move on. I think the next step is lower control arms. But this thing looks great in here.
It was funny, I was looking at it before, and I picked this one up to bring it over. This has got to be 25 pounds, 30 pounds lighter than the other one. The other one's huge.
Yeah, that thing is really bulky, and you remember when we carried it off there, you pick this up by yourself with no problem. They say 30 pounds.
Yeah, and I believe it. I mean, if you look at the construction too, it's probably, from a width perspective, it's probably about a quarter of the width of the original cross member. So you've got so much more room to get in to work on stuff, which I find amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool on a third gen too, because they're not the easiest cars to work on in the engine bay.
Well, the other part is, I think, if you chop that 25, 30 pounds off the front end, that's going to benefit. But I know we've got these sliders up here. What is the benefit to those? Because
this bracket here is the top of the spring slider. So what that's going to do is, even though we're using a coilover style strut, this kit positions a shorter spring in here where the original spring was.
Okay.
But because this K-frame doesn't use a huge spring pocket like the other, it uses a sort of a coilover style spring, but no shock. And this is the upper mount for that.
Oh, cool.
It just looks nice.
It does. It's like jewelry. This is cool.
So this is the spring that was in our IROC. It's almost identical to the factory one, except I believe we did an 1.5 inch lowering spring, so this is about the same thing. This is what we're going to replace it with. Exactly how this compensates for that, I am not sure, but I'm guessing it has a lot to do with the adjustability of our slider that we're going to be installing. Then at the base of the spring goes these radial bearings. So you have two steels and then the radial bearing in between. And where that sits is right here. You want to make sure you anti-seize, never seize that. You put one steel on. I'm going to put anti-seize in between the radial bearing. That on just a little bit more, and another steel on top of your radial bearing. Make sure your adjustment collar's all the way down. Put your spring on, make sure you got QA1 upright. And then your keeper goes in. It's got a slot that goes around the shaft, and shoulders on either side that keeps it centered. Tighten up your adjustment until you're just making contact. That way your keeper won't fall out, and now we can go and install it on the control arm.
See if he can do it without dropping the pieces. Hold on.
So our cross-member suspension, everything is installed. The last thing we need to install is the strut rod, which basically replaces this bracket that went to the original K-member. Because this K-member is so much smaller in physical size, we're going to replace it with this strut rod.
It feels and looks expensive.
So you know you're getting what you paid for.
Yeah.
This plate goes in from the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, just like before. Well, look at that. It's got a little notch
See? Beautiful.
for your camber adjustment.
That is, see, that's cool.
And then,
Caster. That's really cool. So you know
so
exactly.
like you were talking about, between road driving, you head to the track.
Market.
You know you want this, you know you want that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Day's done, I'm driving home, put it back.
That's a great design.
That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Way to go, QA1. That's,
Yep.
that's solid. I like this.
All right.
See, when you put the, now I'm getting excited to actually drive this thing down
Yeah,
a road
right?
course, because that's cool, because you
Yeah,
can.
right?
Like now I want to thrash on this thing. This is cool.
Once the lower coil springs were installed and set up on the respective sliders, we were able to install the double adjustable front struts that came up through our top plates, which are adjustable for both caster and camber. Then, all that was left to do was give everything a final once-over and then tighten up some of our engine's front-end accessories.
Hey Terry, just watching you and Junior install the QA1 kit in the front, and the first thing that came to mind was the immediate lack of bitching and the lack of complaints, and that never happens.
There hasn't been much cursing. I'm realizing like it's the end of the workday. The front suspension is essentially in the car. The engine is back on the cradle. We even put the alternator and air conditioning brackets back in place. All that's left to do is to finish the sway bar install once we put the car on the ground and bleed the brakes. And yeah, we really didn't run into any problems yet.
So it's interesting because I mean, you and I have both played with stuff over the years and stuff like that. And what I was shocked about is there's always one or two things that don't line up. Everything on this kit, it just seems so well engineered that there was no drama. And listen, I'm not just saying this, I'm staring at you, camera. I'm not just saying this. We've done a lot of these over the years. It just went together. And what I'm seeing is that the construction and the engineering, it's like jewelry under here. It's really pretty.
Yeah, honestly, I think all day long, you saw how many bags of hardware there are and how many different kits that this actually is to make up the one big kit. Yeah, the drama has been pretty low today.
Yeah.
And that's refreshing.
Well, it also seems like, just from looking at it, I mean, looking at the clearances and stuff, it seems like, and I know this is gonna sound weird, almost like things are missing because there's so much extra room in here to get your hands in and do some work.
Yeah, there's a lot more room in here. Junior just put the exhaust back on. And the only thing that went to the lathe was a washer that we had to customize. That's it.
So Terry, the front suspension's in, it looks beautiful. What's the next step?
Yeah, we're almost all done up here. So tomorrow we move to the back. We'll do the rear suspension. Should be easier than the front, we hope.
Okay.
Then the QA1 deal is done.
Oh my God. QA1 deal will be done, so stay tuned because there's a lot more to come on IROC Rehab.